Wysteria. Energy. Twister. Hello everyone and welcome back to The Shadow. So now we are on to Jack's story. I was halfway through a 12-hour shift when we got the call to go to the Greenway Flats. I knew how serious it was because the ambulance service categorises all the calls it gets. Category 1 is the most life-threatening and needs to be attended to within 7 minutes. Category 4 have a response time of 3 hours. So although most people think every day on an ambulance is different, they are typical jobs you'll be called to daily. The first job of the morning was an older man who had fallen in his flat. He'd been on the carpet all night, until his carer found him on their visit. He was okay when we arrived, so we lifted him off the floor and got him comfortable. Then I made him some tea and toast, and we had a chat. After that, we received a birth imminent message. We arrived and that we were there to find a woman giving birth on a bathroom floor. We asked for the extra resources straight away as we delivered the baby at home. Mum and Dad were both first-time parents and required a lot of reassurance, but within 5 minutes, the child was born and she was fine. As I ensured that mother and child were okay, we received another call for a Category 1. The incident was 2 minutes from us, so we left the new parents and went to Greenway Flats. Yet, something strange happened then. We got another message saying there was some confusion about whether or not the person was alive. There was a report of somebody falling from a high rise, but they were still moving on the ground. I processed that information when we approached the scene, dodging a fight in the middle of the road between a uniformed police officer and a clown. We parked outside the flats, jumped out of the ambulance and seeing the body on the ground, even from where I was, I could tell they couldn't be alive. The amount of blood staining the street made that obvious. Apart from the clown and the copper screaming at each other, the place was silent. I was moving towards the body when I saw 2 women standing in front of me, unmoving and in shock. As I got closer and saw their faces, it was apparent they must be mother and daughter. My partner rushed past me to the body. I should have joined him, but something strange stopped me. A long shadow between the mother and daughter, and it was moving. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. The shadow slithered like a snake between the women, crawling up the older woman's leg before sliding onto the daughter. It kept doing that, going back and forth between them as I stood there transfixed. "There's nothing we can do here, Jack," my partner shouted at me. "You better see if those 2 women are okay." He was right. There was nothing wrong with my legs, but my brain wouldn't let me move. The slithering shadow made my skin crawl, but then it got worse. It had a head with a face, and it smiled at me. I'm ashamed to say, but when I saw that grin, I pissed myself. Warm urine slid down my leg, came out of my trousers and created a stinging yellow pool on the pavement. The smell flicked a trigger in my brain and I was ready to move until I heard a voice. Its voice. The shadow. "Don't go, Jack. You'll be my vessel. It's been such a long time since I lived inside a male human." These women are too feeble for my tastes, lacking the strength for what I'll do. But you're stronger. I see that in your mind. All the terrible things you've seen and experienced will make you the perfect partner for me. And you'll have to do it because I say, just step forward, and a great new world can be yours. My feet moved without me telling them to, reaching out a hand for the shadowy black fingers creeping towards me, and I was ready for them, hungry to feel their touch. That was until a clown barged into me. Bob's story. You never know what you'll run into or up against when working as a clown. I mean, some people have the craziest expectations. To be a professional clown takes commitment and sacrifice beyond what the public sees. It's hard work, not for everyone. The public sees only about 20% of what goes into working in that profession. As a professional clown, you have to perform, even when it's difficult. such as if you're ill or injured. It sounds extreme, but it goes with the territory. Unfortunately, most people aren't up to the challenge. In the old days, you got called a trooper for this. And I'm a trooper. I've done double duty as a traditional clown and an 8 number of costume characters, whatever the client asks for, including the Cat in the Hat, Batman, a Squid Game thug, even the latest Prime Minister, and the situations can get hairy. For example, at one adult party, where dressed as a Tarzan clown, some granny kept grinding against me, asking if she could spank my monkey. Most of my work is for an agency, where you're sent out in pairs or groups, and there's a lot of female clowns in the industry now. So, clowncest is a regular thing. If you ever wanted to see what it looks like when nightmares breed, hang around a clown's car after a performance. Heck, I was one side for a Halloween shindig, dressed as Pennywise, the clown from Stephen King's It. I spent most of it avoiding a female Freddy Krueger look-alike trying to rip my clothes off. So I've seen some strange and terrifying things in my time working as a clown, but that day beats a lot. First, I turned up with the other clowns for some woman's Instagram promotion party. I couldn't remember her name, and it paid peanuts, but damn, if anyone's a clown, it's those people influenced by wannabes on social media. But, and this happens often, we could sample the booze on offer. This meant most of the other bozos and I were pretty merry before the copper turned up to tell us to turn down the noise. It was too late by then, but I'm not sure how I was the one who ended up fighting with the boy in blue in the middle of the road. I guess that's how I missed the drama of the woman jumping from the 10th floor of those flats. Even the copper can't have seen it, or he wouldn't have continued scrapping with me. When the ambulance came screaming around the corner, I thought that might have stopped him from pounding on me, but he must have had some childhood trauma with the clown, considering how angry he was. Still, I didn't mind the bus stop. It was better than having to listen to the Instagram woman going on and on about her stupid career. Her voice was liquid Valium, calming to the point of comatose, with each word she spoke more meaningless than the one before. By the end of the sentence, I was far worse informed than if she'd said nothing. Instead of wasting time on the internet entertaining morons, her ideal job would have been a doctor specialising in telling patients their cancer was now terminal, because everyone would have either nodded off or died before they'd absorbed the news. So it hadn't been a good day until I got into an argument with the copper, apart from the free booze. Then, as the ambulance swerved past and the police officer let go of me, I stumbled back and saw 2 women standing in front of the body. But it was what I saw next that scared the shit out of me. A black, slithering snake, crawling all over the woman. Now, I hate snakes at the best of times, so I was glad when I realised it wasn't one of those slimy things. That was until I understood what it was. A living shadow. It had a head and face and mouth, and the whole of the body was screaming at me to run. I saw it crawl all over these 2 women, the sight making the alcohol turn into bile in my throat. Then it crept away from them and slithered towards a paramedic from the ambulance. I expected him to shout and scream, but he just stood there. And that's when I heard the voice. The shadow was speaking inside my head, a terrible, flesh-crawling sound that made me bend over and throw up. The vomit stink assaulted my senses, but it didn't stop me from hearing that voice. My God, that voice, I can still hear it now. But then, outside that building, the copper jumped on me, and we went flying into the paramedic, with all 3 of us ending up on the ground. My head was on the pavement when I saw the shadow slithering towards us. And that's the end of chapter 2. We shall continue when we return with chapter 3. Thank you for listening and many blessings. Wysteria. Energy. Twister.